Greetings, everyone. This is Elizabeth. Thank you for joining me today in celebrating Ryan Swift and his 1-year soberversary and 1,000 subbies. Ryan is the owner of Sinful Sweets, a bakery in Rochester, New York, and recently started Grunge Greetings here on YouTube. In the description box below, you'll find the link to the next top channel. If you're watching out of order, you can use hashtag celebrate Ryan's first soberversary. For a chance to enter the grand prize drawing, you need to be a U.S. citizen and comment on all the hot videos before October 10th, 2020. While you're commenting, be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons. Today's card is in honor of Ryan, so let's get started.
Alright, so here we have a owl made up of gears from Brutus Monroe. And I'm laying him on a thin sliver of vellum that I had lying around. And we're going to use the Versamark embossing ink so that we can put down some copper embossing powder. Now my embossing powder is an old Hampton Art brand called a la mode. It still works. So know that if you have some from years ago, 'tis nothing wrong with it. And this is pretty cool. You lift him up and you can see him embossed on there. And I'm using a coffee filter to catch the embossing powder. And I forgot to use my anti-static pad, but it was all right because I trimmed it so close that all the little extra specks were just trimmed off. And I'm gonna clean up here and pause the video and then clean up and heat emboss him, so that when we come back, he's all fussy cutted out and looking fabulous. Now we're going to pull out our background panel, and I'm going to grab the Versamark again and travel around the edge to get it all nice and sticky so that we can put some more embossing powder on. And it's just a flicking motion. And you want to hold it so that you can see. The Versamark does make it look wet, so that's nice. Trying to find where you were, where you're headed. Even in fast forward, that's kind of slow. So here we go. Grabbing that powder, and it's a messy thing, but we start at the top and kind of let it fall down. We'll tap it before we turn. And then we just go around all 4 edges. And you can see I put on a lot in there, but it's not going to matter when we mat it over with the other card panel. There, I was trying to zoom out so we could see all of that embossing powder goodness. And then I'm going to pull out the heat gun, pause you, and heat, emboss, and clean. Ta-da! And there it is, and it's shimmery goodness. And I put that aside and I grab the sentiment strips. I wanted to handwrite mine to make it a little bit more personal, and I had to handwrite that thing I don't know how many times. First time I misspelled find. Two I's in find, by the way. And then the second one, I was way too close to the top. So I'm like, oh, take your time. Let's do this right. And then the third time's a charm. And it says, may you find strength in the hearts of those who love and appreciate you. Thought that was a little fitting. And then I'm pulling out the Minty Fresh and the Guppy from my Simon Hurley collection. And that little mister there is just normal tap water. Now I'm spraying the Guppy, and I aim for, because when you tap down your ink pad, it leaves harsh edges. So when you spritz your water, aim for those harsh edges and it will soften them up. And then we just tap and twist to pick up as much color as we want. And I'm liking that. So then I wipe that all nice and clean so that I can pull out the Minty Fresh and do the same. Now, Minty Fresh is a lighter color. It's a little bit more delicate. So I put an extra bit down and then again hit it with the water. And then we tap and twist. Now I am looking at it when I lift it up to see where there's white spots. And in this process, we do want some white. We just don't want too much of it. So I pull out the heat gun, dry it up. Lovely little panel. And then this is a Stampendous background stamp. If you don't have a full background stamp, you can use a different stencil. I'm also using 2 other stencils. Nothing wrong with 3 of them. I pinch the paper at the bottom and let it fall forward and smoosh it down into that stamp. And the little hangover, I flip it over and catch it on the other side of the stamp pad. And then voila, we have wonderful inking over our smooshing. I'm going to set that aside, and then I'm going to grab some Ideology collage paper by Tim Holtz. It's super thin tissue paper, and it rips really easily. Well, I don't know how easily. It wants to rip following the fibers, so you can pinch and rip like I'm doing, or you could pull out the section that you want and trace it with a little bit of water on a paintbrush or one of those water brushes that has water inside of it. And I'm just pulling off some extra stuff that I don't want. I'm going to separate the berries from the flowers and use the berries in another part of the at the lower part of the card. And I'm just kind of seeing where I want them placed. Put my roll away. And then I'm just using regular old Elmer's stick glue. This stuff is easy to adhere. Super easy. You can use Mod Podge, anything to glue it down. And I start from the inside and work my way out. You do not want to pull to the inside. It will buckle the paper. And with it being so delicate, it gets a little fussy. And then you figure out your placement, squish it down. And you can check your edges to see if they're all stuck down. And if they're not, you just roll it back and add some glue. Grab the little berries. Do the same from the inside out. And the nice thing about the tissue is the white part kind of just disappears and it dries clear with the glue. So anything behind it will still show through. And that ripped a little, but I wasn't worried about it because how I was going to place it. There it goes. A little bit at the top. And I could tell it was peeling up there, so I was pulling it back so I could get some glue under there. And then you grab I flip over and press it down so it's nice and firm. Tidy up a little bit, and then grab your glue scissors that you cut through sticky stuff. And here, this one little piece was trying to fold over the back. So I had to fuss with it a little bit to get it chopped out, but normally it's pretty easy. And there it is. Now we're going to add some more texture and grungy goodness to it. These are both Brutus Monroe stencils. This one is Gears, and I'm pulling out the Gur. It's a dark brown, and I really want it dark up there in the corner because that's about where I'm going to put my owl. So some of that will be hidden behind the owl. And as you can see, I don't like fill in all the gears, so there's a little bit of gears that aren't complete. You just want to pick 3 areas, add some gears, and I really darkened it up over the flower so it would stand out there. And I'm not too worried about the center because that's about where my sentiment's gonna go. Here we have a bright yellow Psych, and this digital drops is what this stencil is called. And I tried to zoom in so you could see, and then my hands and everything are in the way and I was off screen, so my apologies for that. But I've just taken my ink blending brush, which is a makeup brush, a very thick bristled makeup brush. I like the handle going straight up and down versus the toothbrush style. And then again, I just pick 3 areas and go for it. Now, I had to do that one little side twice because the first time I didn't get enough ink in there, and that's what that looks like. Doing some layers of stencils on top of each other with some tissue in the middle. We had cleaned up. And now we're going to adhere. I was going to tape it down, but I thought it was too buckly, so I glued it down with my little glue stick. And then when the card's all done, I'll set it under some heavy items to make sure it flattens back out completely. Get that down on the base panel there. And normally that copper edged piece would be a 5x7 to cover the whole front of the card, but I did go through and I cut a sliver off the top and the bottom so that I would have a teeny weeny bit of white showing around the edges. Now this is pretty strong sticky tape, so I'm just going to do the 3 little pieces and it's going to hold it to the card really well. Here I was deciding which side I wanted the top, and opted for the little flowers at the top. Okay, grab our sentiment, and 1 piece of tape right down the center for both of these is more than enough. And this tape I actually found at the dollar store works really good. Center that on the brown piece, peel that up, and we're going to center it, holding it, make sure it's all nice and even, and then squish it down. Here I've pulled out my sticker maker and I run the owl through there, which I forgot to do earlier, and I flip it over and burnish it down so that I don't get so many goobers on the outside. And then peel and trash that piece, and then peel the little owl. And now he's going to go sit up in the top corner. And there it is, 1 finished card in honor of Mr. Ryan Swift. Check out the links and everything below, and go subscribe to everyone in the hop. Thank you so much for joining me today and honoring Mr. Ryan Swift from Glitter Grunge Greetings. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.